Good afternoon and welcome to today's mini webinar where we will talk about how a doctoral program can impact your career path as well as your faith. My name is Dr. Linda Grooms and I'm a full-time faculty member in Regent School of Education, and I will be moderating this webinar where we have two very special guests, Dr. Leslie Russell, who is one of our most recent graduates, and Dr. Tera Simmons, one of our earlier graduates, who has had the opportunity to exemplify the outcomes of this program through a larger part of her career. It's good to see you both, and thank you again for being here and for participating in today's webinar. First, I'd like to start off by asking both of you to tell us a little bit about yourself. For example, what is your position in the K-12 sector prior to beginning your doctoral program, and have there been any changes in your employment since you completed your degree? Dr. Russell?
Good afternoon, everyone. As Dr. Groom says, my name is Leslie Russell, and I am currently the program administrator for federal programs in a school division in the Hampton Roads area, which is basically Title I. Prior to me starting the doctoral program, I was a building principal and a reading specialist, and of course a teacher. And I had the wonderful opportunity through the process of going through my doctoral program to obtain the job of a program administrator. And that's what I contain now in that same position.
Sounds good. Dr. Simmons.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. It's morning here, but good afternoon there. When I first started the doctoral program, I was a special education teacher at a middle school. During the program, I was able to earn my ABS and became an assistant principal at an elementary school. Then I moved to be an assistant principal and then an interim principal at a high school. Then I moved to be an elementary principal. Then a curriculum director in a school district. Then I moved to be an assistant superintendent at a different school system. Then I served as an interim superintendent in that same school system for a few months. And since that time, I've moved to be executive vice president at Gadsden Community College. So during that time, I've been in two different school districts, and now I'm working at a community college.
So it sounds like your trajectory, you've gone from the classroom all the way up to the top in higher education, or almost to the top in higher education,
Right.
Executive vice president. So I guess another question that I have for both of you is, why did you choose Regent as opposed to the numerous other programs that were available? You could have gone anywhere. Why did you choose Regent?
I'll start if you want me to, Dr. Russell, and then we'll go to you on this question. I knew that I wanted to enter a doctoral program, but I wasn't sure where I wanted to go. And this was probably in the early 2000s, and we had a guest minister to come to church, and afterwards my family and I went out to eat with him, and his daughter was affiliated with the 700 Club, and he asked if I'd ever considered Regent. Until that time, I had never even heard of Regent University. So I applied, and after I completed the interview process to enter the program, that's where I felt like God wanted me.
Mm-hmm. I think I had a similar experience. Mine was I actually joined the program during the COVID pandemic. So all schools were closed. And as a building administrator at that time, I had more time to look at my emails and understand what was going on with everything else outside of school. So at that time, I knew I wanted a doctoral program. I had been at numerous other colleges. I've been to George Washington, Old Dominion, other programs that I've gone through for different endorsements and things of that nature. But for me, it was that we had a cohort in our division that was starting. And I had a little bit more time that I knew that I would possibly get an opportunity to work with people in our division that I hadn't worked with before, as well as because our division kind of supported it, I decided that this probably would be the program for me. I looked into the courses, I looked into how long it would take me, and plus I love the fact that it was 10 minutes away from my house as well as from work. Everything was shut down at that time. So when I started, I had more time. I wanted to be close by, whereas my other programs that I've gone through, I would have had to get on the road to do. And so I knew that the doctoral program would take me some time to get through. And I just think that this was feasible for what I was doing at that particular time, as well as cost effective.
Well, do you guys think this degree has been helpful to you? And if so, how so?
Absolutely. There were several courses and things that I had taken through the program. For example, the adult learner course that we took, that program, that class helped me with what I do in my position. For example, I do a lot of professional development for adults. And had I understood prior to that, the adult learner, that particular course, those things helped me to understand what I needed to do to meet the needs of adult learners versus the kids that we served on a regular basis. And so that was very key for me. The process of writing all the resources and things that were provided to me also helped me I write grants. And so things that I learned grammatically in the writing program, writing for the dissertation, also was very helpful for me when I started writing grants and things of that nature in this position.
Okay.
I would agree, Dr. Grooms. On the position, it just provided the degree that was preferred for most of the positions that I've applied for.
In addition, you really don't know what you need in these positions until you actually get there. And then, like I said, I was like, oh, I got this from this course. Let me pull that in. And I was able to make connections. And it just happened to be, I guess God gives you things when you need it, when you need it. And that's basically what's happened.
So basically what you're saying, but what I'm hearing both of you say is that it was very applicable to your situation almost immediately. Is that right?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And then you still have things to go back and reference later as you continue. So from a programmatic perspective, what would you say was the most influential aspect of the program? Was it the course content, perhaps the relationships that you made with your peers, or about the faculty, or what were the differences in what you received here at Regent than maybe in your previous programs? Because you've both been through bachelor's programs and master's programs and maybe some additional coursework along the way. So what was the programmatic difference that made an influence on you? Was it the course content or relationships or what?
So for me, I think it was a little bit of everything that you just mentioned. One, I love the fact that they were 8-week courses. And I don't know, Dr. Simmons, when you went through the program, if they were that then, but for me, they were 8-week courses. And with that being stated, it allowed me to really get to dive into the theory of what I was learning. And then after the 8 week, I went to another course and I was getting things done within a certain amount of time. On top of that, I had the opportunity to work with people in this division that I never would have thought that I would have worked with or collaborate for or whatever. But it gave me an opportunity to work with secondary people. I'm pretty much a primary elementary person, and I was collaborating now with people that were in the secondary level or central office. And that opened my perspective on things. So those are some, I guess, programmatic things that helped, as well as for other programs that I've gone through, you're working with people from other school divisions. I still got that opportunity, but this time we were intimately working together to reach a goal. All of us had the same goal that we're in our division, and we all could help each other throughout the day, throughout the time to get that dissertation done. As well as not only having that closeness, the relationships with faculty. There is not one time that I could not pick up the phone and call you, Dr. Grooms, or call Dr. Goldman to have, because both of you were my professors. And so having that opportunity to pick up the phone and call you at different times or text you at different hours, a lot of colleges, you have to do it between a certain amount of time. Within their office hours. But with Regent, I felt comfortable enough to email or to text or to schedule a Zoom or a Google Meet at any time. And you all were available for me when I needed it.
I concur. The relationship with the faculty members would be probably number one for the program. I enjoyed the residencies. There were summer residencies when I was in the program in 2000, early 2000s. And I really enjoyed the residency because you could put a face. I know now you have Zoom and you have ways to connect with people. And as far as the peers, there's only one person that was in my cohort that I keep in contact with. So I've kind of lost touch with the peers, but the most One of the most influential aspects of the program would be how the biblical principles were interwoven into all of the courses. And I remember one course in particular where we had a book about Nehemiah building the wall and the importance of just remaining consistent with what we're doing. But a lot was a biblical principle and the biblical worldview.
I would have to agree with that. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Dr. Russell.
I definitely would have to agree with that. I think that a lot of the courses, the very first course that I took was the spiritual worldview, and connecting what I was doing in my work and the spiritual realm together really was very beneficial for me. It definitely tied me closer to my faith and things of that nature. I would also say another piece that I really like, and I did not mention this earlier, was that I had a mentor through the process. My mentor actually was assigned by Regent, and she actually lives in Malaysia. She went through the process, and she was, again, there for me at any time. She would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning here, her time, 6 o'clock my time, to walk me through, hey, are you doing okay? She gave me encouragement. She prayed for me. She made sure that I had different things that I needed. If I needed a resource, she would, have those available to me. That was different than any other program that I had been through, because you don't have that connection and you don't have it on a spiritual realm at all. So with that, I think that was very, very key. And we still talk here and there to this day.
That's wonderful. What I'm hearing, though, is, Dr. Russell, you went through from a cohort, actually. We're going to use the cohort word. You went through with a cohort of your peers in your school system, where Dr. Simmons, I believe you went through as a cohort with a group of people that started at the same time.
That's correct. But I didn't know anyone, right?
But you, exactly, because you didn't know anyone when you came.
Right.
And at the time when you came through, we didn't have that mentor program.
No.
But we do now. And so that's really, I'm glad you brought that up, Dr. Russell, because that is something that I think probably has been very beneficial in helping catapult the process for people to be able to, through completion. It's fairly
Absolutely.
It's fairly new. We've only done it for maybe 2-3 years, but it's something that I'm sure Dr. Simmons, had you had that, you would have probably taken advantage of that as well.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely. And nobody knows what you're going through when you're writing that dissertation, except for a person that's actually going through it or has gone through it. So, I could talk to my husband. He hasn't gone through this process, so he didn't understand why and what I was doing. So having a person that's similar to you, like-minded, is definitely key in getting through that process.
Dr. Russell, since you mentioned something about your husband, have you guys found that as far as support systems that you might have had as you went through, what kind of support system did you have to help you make it through the whole process? Because for each person, the process is a little bit different. And so kind of what was your support system like? Either one of you.
My parental support was very strong. I did go through a divorce while I was in the program, so I had to go through all of that emotional situation of a divorce and persevering through a program, which is one thing I think God taught me through the program, is to have faith in Him, that He would provide for every one of my needs and that He would get me through any situation that I faced. So, but parental support was very strong.
Okay.
For me, when I first started, of course, as I said, it was through COVID and everything was shut down. And so in the beginning, my husband was the first person that I could connect to, and I had to talk to him and things of that nature. Of course, then I had my spiritual piece that I pray through different things, and those were key throughout the process. My family, I can say that they were there 110% of the way. In fact, like I said, I even mentioned in my dissertation how I would cast my paper for everyone to see on the DEN TV so that everybody could read through it and help me through the grammatical pieces, or does this sound right? That type of thing. Without those supports, I don't think that I would have gotten through the process. I do believe that God puts you in situations where it requires you to need Him. And so in this particular situation, there were times where my family could answer. There was no one around to answer. So of course, God was there again, 110% of the way for that question to be answered for me and to give me the uplifting that I need to get through what I was doing.
So really what I'm hearing both of you say is that in addition to your intellectual growth during the course of the program, you've had challenges, you've had opportunities, and it's impacted, it appears from what you're saying, that it also brought in the whole faith component. It really impacted both of you from a spiritual perspective as well. Am I hearing that correctly?
Oh,
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. During the COVID time, like I said, I had a lot of time to do some thinking, to reevaluate who I was as an educator, who I was as a person. And God put that seed into me to say, okay, my parents had passed away right before COVID, both of them. And so both of them were pretty much educators or knew the importance of education. And that's what they instilled in me. And so with that being stated, I knew that I guess with my faith, I was very private. I wasn't very overt with it, but it allowed me to have an opportunity to connect that spiritual to what I was doing. It allowed me time to take that time to pray, where I necessarily wouldn't have done that before.
Definitely. It teaches you endurance. In life, you're going to face hard times. When you're in leadership, there's somebody angry or upset at you all the time. You can't make everyone happy. And the program taught you that regardless of what's going on around you, to persevere and to just continue towards your goal.
And
Absolutely.
You've had plenty of opportunity through the multiple positions that you've had, and especially where you are right now, to see that there's always going to be some kind of opposition that's going to be there, because you can, unfortunately, as all of us know, in leadership positions, there's always going to be somebody that doesn't agree with us.
Daily.
Right?
Daily.
Has the program had any additional impact on your life? Like for instance, maybe how you process information?
I think, again, it helped me with how to work with adult learners. Again, going back to that, I hadn't considered that prior to, and helping to understand that adult learners have different needs than those that are children. Because when you're working with little ones all day long, that's what you think about. You think about the littles, but you can't do the same things with them. As well as understanding when there's change. During COVID, there was a lot of change going on. There was a lot of different things coming at different people in a variety of ways. And there was a course that we took that talked about experiencing change and how to help people get through that change. And in that particular course, those things helped me to understand how to support those people through the changes that we were going through COVID. And then helping them to get what they needed to do in the educational world to be able to teach littles through the pandemic.
I would say the program probably most impacted how I lead others. I try to always be mindful that I don't know what others are facing and try to encourage them. And also it showed me the importance of mentoring. And I do try to mentor everyone that I supervise or give them the opportunity if they're willing to grow. And I look at different ways to mentor. So it did have an impact on how I lead today.
Any other things that you guys would like other people to know about the program and how it might influence or help them? We've kind of covered the intellectual. We've covered the process of our thinking. We've talked about, Dr. Simmons, you just mentioned how you lead others is differently as far as really employing that mentoring piece. Anything else that you guys would like to add?
I would also say,
go ahead. I'm sorry, Russell. You go
ahead. You go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I would also say if there were an issue, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm 10 minutes away from Regent, but I have not yet to step foot on campus, except for using the library. And if there were an issue or if I needed something from the registrar's office, I could definitely call them and I would get the help that I need right away, either through email or through contacting them. They were right there on time. The bookstore, things of that nature, All of those pieces were very integral in making that a smooth transition, because I did go through a virtual program versus a face-to-face program.
I'm very thankful for the program at Regent. The professors were wonderful. The program was terrific. As I stated earlier, how it incorporated biblical principles. It established a strong foundation that I think has affected where I am today. So I would encourage anyone that's looking for a doctoral program to strongly consider Regent. If I had it to do over with, I wouldn't change anything. I would still go to Regent University.
I would have to agree with that, Dr. Simmons. Like I said, the program was wonderful. I learned a lot. A lot of times you take classes and you don't realize what, you don't understand what you learn, but a lot for this program, I have learned quite a bit. I love the fact that I'm taking that spiritual and what I've learned theoretically to put together to help me solve problems for the world. My dissertation was particularly a relevant program, a relevant topic that I've been able to use, and it's been able to catapult me to be able to speak to other people to support the cause that I've been working on with my particular dissertation. So I'm excited. I would encourage anyone to go to Regent. It was very friendly for those that work on a regular basis and work many, many hours out of the day, affordable, things of that nature.
Well, I just want to thank you both for sharing with us how your Regent doctoral education really impacted your career paths and how it's helping facilitate your trajectory and continuing to influence not only K-12 schools, but also in higher education. And that's what it's kind of exciting to see. It's really the whole gamut of education from the kindergartner all the way through the college age. So I just want to thank you again, and I just want to open it to see if anyone if anyone has any questions outside of just us. If not, then we'll call it a wrap. Any questions from the people that are attending?
No question.
I have a question,
Sure.
this is Ashley Clifton. I was wondering, before you started your doctoral program, did you have in mind the specific job that you wanted to pursue when you had finished your program? And were you doing that already? Were you working while you were pursuing your degree?
I was working, but I was an elementary teacher. No, I wouldn't say I had aspirations early on. I just wanted to be prepared to be wherever God led me in whatever position He opened up. So I didn't have a certain position that I was aiming for one day. I just wanted to be prepared for whatever what God's will was or is for my life.
I would say the same for me. Before being an administrator and a principal, I was a reading specialist, and I would have never thought that I would have been a grant writer for millions of dollars for the division. The dissertation program, as well as the math pieces that I've learned, I didn't prepare. I didn't think that the dissertation would help me with that, but it did. So I didn't know. I think God has a sense of humor and gives you what you need when you need it.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I was just gonna make a comment. It was just great to hear the richness and diversity of the experiences for both. That actually resonated with me. And as you were talking that last part, Dr. Russell, I always think of that quote is better to be prepared for opportunity and not have one than to have opportunity and not be prepared. I think both of you all have, alluded to that throughout this conversation. Thank you, Dr. Grooms, for being a great panel hostess. But I just enjoyed listening and just learning about, both of you guys, your path. Just continue God's blessings. And I look forward to hearing great things as you continue in your career paths.
I have one question if we have time.
Sure.
I often ask my my dissertation students when they finish, what did they feel was the biggest obstacle to them completing their final dissertation, and how did they deal with that? How did they overcome that difficulty?
I think for me, since I guess I'm the most recent graduate in defending July 13th of this past summer. Um, I guess for me, it was getting all the pieces together, that final dance, getting everything ready so that it was presentable for everyone. It's almost like a baby. You're working on it all along, and now you're presenting it. And then to realize that I am the biggest expert at that particular research at that particular time, that was to be prepared for that, because you don't know what someone will ask you, or your chair or your committee will ask you when you're defending. And so preparing for that, making sure that I had read the most current research, that I was ready for that. All of that was, it's like you're pouring your heart out to everybody and hoping everybody would accept it on that particular committee. So getting ready for that was the biggest challenge, and making sure that it was ready to go for me.
Thanks for that answer, because it is a process, and I find often that the candidate has done so well in their methodology and things that I ask questions about the topic. And yeah, you're right. You have to become an expert on that topic. That's why I still do dissertations, because such a variety of topics that I get informed every time I meet with my dissertation people. Thank you.
I will also say one other component was, Dr. Grooms will laugh when I say this, I had a timeline for myself on my own dissertation. I said, I want to be finished by this time because I'm a planner. That's what I wanted to do. As I said earlier, God has a sense of humor. And so with that, he taught me patience and flexibility, and knowing that it's going to happen when he tells me that it's going to happen. And although I thought that I was prepared in certain times, with the help of the resources Dr. Grooms provided and my cohort provided, all of that had to come together when it was time. And the patience to wait, to be prepared for that, to get ready for that final dance or that final defense, that sometimes can be a challenge for those that are going through, especially if you've gone through and you've done this for 2 years, you've been working on it for a while. So that piece for myself was the biggest challenge as well, being able to know that it's going to happen when God says it's going to happen.
Dr. Simmons, I saw your little box light up a minute ago. Did you have anything else?
Right. I'm trying to think back several years, but I think it was really narrowing down your topic. And just like you said, Dr. Russell, becoming an expert in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I'll give that one more question, if anybody has any other questions, this is the time. And I'll give that one slight pregnant pause before we wrap up. That teacher wait time, it's always that awkward moment, isn't it? So, well, once again, I want to thank you both for sharing with all of us. And I want to just say God bless you both, and God bless each of you who have attended today. And I just pray that each of you has a wonderful rest of the afternoon. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Grooms,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Russell, and Dr. Simmons.
Thank you.